It's kind of funny, people often on my streams, people will tell me I come across as just this wholesome guy. I'm just this wholesome guy. I don't drink and I don't cuss very much, and I'm just this wholesome young man. And I always kind of laugh when I hear that, because I'm from a very small town in Ohio. I grew up in a town, it's actually where Smucker's Jelly comes from. It's called Orville, Ohio. That's where I grew up. And I'm not sure that everyone in Orville, Ohio would agree that I'm the wholesome young man that I come across as. I'm not sure if you interviewed the people who went to high school with me, they'd have the same opinion of me. And I'm going to tell you about something that happened. It happened between my freshman and sophomore year of high school. I ended up, I won't get into the specifics of the situation, but let's just say I ended up in summer school. I was in summer school taking summer school geometry. And it was interesting. It was summer school geometry, and it was a small class, about 12, 14 people, and we were in this room for 5 hours every day studying geometry. And there were some people that were there because they'd been in juvenile hall, and there were some people there because they wanted to graduate early, and some people there because they'd failed the year before, and it was kind of a rougher bunch of people. And, we were kind of stuck in the room, and the teacher wasn't really teaching. They would just kind of give us worksheets at the beginning of the class, and so we would sit there and do the worksheets. And, people talk, and high school kids bully each other, and I was handing out communist newspapers. Like, what else am I going to do, right? So I'm handing out communist newspapers, and this one guy across the room, he looks at me and he says, "Communists are a bunch of faggots. Communists are a bunch of faggots." And I'm just kind of sitting there like, I don't want to have a fight here, right? I'm already in summer school, for Christ's sakes, and I'm a little nervous. And then immediately behind me, this kid jumps up out of nowhere, and he jumps up and he says, "No, communists are not faggots." He's like, "My uncle fought in Vietnam. Those communists are badass motherfuckers. They shot people in the face. They set traps for people. Those communists are badass motherfuckers. You have no idea. Those communists are dangerous. Kim Jong-il runs people over with tanks. Those communists are badass motherfuckers." Not the reaction that I was expecting, but there you go. So you can see a positive reaction coming from different directions, right? Perhaps we ought to think about how the term tanky can be reinterpreted and celebrated by different strata of U.S. society. But I want to talk about another experience that I had in summer school between my sophomore and freshman year of high school, which is that, in that class that I was in, I was sitting next to a young woman who I got to know pretty well, I guess. I mean, if you put somebody in a room with somebody for 5 hours every day, and, you're going to get to know them. And we'll call her Christine. That's obviously not her real name, but I'm not going to dox her and tell her personal business in front of everybody. We'll just call her Christine. And Christine was in summer school because she wanted to graduate early from high school. And the reason that she wanted to graduate early from high school was because she wanted to join the U.S. Marine Corps. She was very excited to join the U.S. Marine Corps. And I, was someone who was very opposed to the war in Iraq, and we had a lot of arguments over the course of this summer school experience. But the arguments that we argued about politics. I was trying to give her Noam Chomsky books and stuff, but that's not really what was important. Because after sitting next to Christine and talking with her and some of the other people in the class, I found out the real reason why she was going into the U.S. Marine Corps. Because, one thing that people like to do, I guess it's more of a working class thing, is people like to brag about the times their parents beat them, or brag about the punishments that they received. And Christine opened up to us one day, and she talked about how her mother would punish her by beating her with a wooden spoon. And she talked about how she'd get written up in school. The teacher would say, "You're going to take a note home," and she'd say, "I don't care. And the whole time she's thinking, my mother's going to beat me with a wooden spoon when I get home. And that when her mother would beat her, would strike her, every time her mother would hit her, she would say, "It doesn't hurt." And her mother would whack her, and she would say, "It doesn't hurt." Whack, "It doesn't hurt." And she described that experience to us. And when I heard that, and I heard that she was very excited to go into the Marine Corps, I understood why she was going into the Marine Corps. And it wasn't because she wanted to kill black and brown people. It wasn't because she was, piped up with chauvinism and nationalism. It was because she wanted some goddamn respect in this world. That's what it was about. She wanted to lift up her head with dignity. And there are so many working class people in this country who feel downtrodden, who feel disrespected. And they want to hold up their heads with dignity and say, "I'm proud of who I am." They want to be bold. They want to be tough. They want to show that they have strength. And I think about what people are going through, and I think about how, regardless of the fact that we are definitely against all these wars, we shouldn't be against the military itself. You know, this idea that anyone who's ever served in the military is a murderer or a racist, we got to throw that out. That needs to be completely eradicated from leftist circles. Because polls show that it's people in the military who are against these wars right now. Did you know that? The polls show that people in the military are more against the wars than average people are. A lot of people in the military who start looking into the facts and saying, why is it that we're being sent overseas to die? What does America really have to gain from backing al-Qaeda in Syria or backing up the Azov battalion in Ukraine? And when you can't escape it, you know, when it's your actual life, you're in the military, your body's on the line, that forces you to start asking questions. And there was a lot of support for Ron Paul among the military. And, you know, Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard, she comes out of the military as well, and her anti-war stance also comes out of the military. And I think we, those of us who believe in socialism, need to find a way to relate to people in the military.